What's up guys, Mystic Frost here. So today is Sunday, which means it's Locals Day, it's Tournament Day. It's not for me. Unfortunately, when I woke up this morning I weren't feeling too great. So I decided best to take the week off, rest up, and basically whatever is going on with me, not to pass it to other people. So sadly I didn't make it. However, I thought I still want to put content out, so this is going to be a bit of a channel update, what I want to do moving forward. So I did say last week's video, when I was talking about staples and how to get started with the game, that the Can We Pay for a Wedding is pretty much done, but I want to keep weekly uploads going. So we're going to go over a few topics today. We're going to go over the ban list, my thoughts on certain cards either getting hit or not getting hit. We're going to go over, like I said, the what's next for this channel, and then I'm going to give you the deck list of the deck I was going to take today, because this week was going to be a bit of a palette cleanser. I was taking a very much fun Mimi deck to Locals with me this week, so I want to at least show off the deck list. It's creativity wise, it's a deck that was played like 4 years ago, maybe longer than that now. Yeah, maybe longer than that now, Jesus. But anyway, we'll get to that shortly. So starting off with the ban list, cards that got banned. Obviously the Fiendsmith card, I don't know the Fiendsmith package well enough. I was very surprised that they banned one of the Fiendsmith cards already. However, it is a very potent engine. However, so was Adventure when that came out, and they didn't ban any of the Adventure stuff straight away. They at least gave out like a full format before they started limiting bits. So I thought maybe the same thing there. I did think if they were going to hit anything on the like the Fiendsmith package, it may have been Moon of the Closed Underworld, or whatever the hell that card's called. You know, the common card that came out in the same thing, the Link 2, because that's what made the Fiendsmith stuff very generic. Yes, Lorry is searchable through other cards, and then you could summon Lorry and then link that off. However, you then don't have the add to discard straight away effect for Lorry, unless you run that at more than one, and then you would still have to play other searching cards to search for Lorry. So it would not necessarily make it worse, but it would certainly make it a little bit more inconsistent in non-Light Fiend based strategy decks, or you would have to run particular cards in order to incorporate that to make it playable. That's kind of my mindset with a lot of this type of archetype stuff. I've been very open with things like Hulk Firebrax, for example. I believe can come back as long as you make it. It requires a Christian monster and a Christian tuner monster. So yeah, you make it archetype specific. Same with Predaplant, Verte, Anaconda. You know, 2 Predaplant monsters, because people who then want to still abuse those cards can, but their overall decks will be less consistent because they would have to play so many more bricks, which would then be the payoff. You know, like, this is the price to pay this card. Excellent, you paid it, well done, it's worked out for you on this occasion. And those who are really good at the game will find ways to abuse it and whatnot. But then that's why they're good at this game. It doesn't matter what cards are in the format, they're going to find ways to abuse it. You know, look at Jesse Cotton. For God's sake, the man's won 6 YCSs. Like, you could give him the Crystal Beast deck that he loves so much. He's going to perform with it. But you give, like, that sort of engine and that sort of mindset to a player of my caliber level, and yeah, fine, we might come close at like top 3 at Locals, but there's no way in hell we're going to perform at a YCS or a regional level with it. It's just not going to happen, you know. So making things more archetype specific is how Konami need to treat these types of cards. Stop making them generic. Like, Dragoon is still very easily cheesed out because of the branded stuff, and we'll get to the branded fusion hit shortly. But they banned Verte Anaconda because of how generic it was to get to, and there was no payback for the Red Eyes fusion and all of this stuff. And it's like, but if you make it so you need to run 2 Predaplant monsters and Red Eyes fusion, because, like, you know, it takes the effect of the spell, so it means you've still got to play the spell, and then Dark Magician and Red Eyes, or an Effect Dragon, which is more generic now because of Bestials. But if you want the pop effect, you've got to actually run the brick Dark Magician. So you're filling your deck up with 4 bricks for Dragoon. To me, that's, I'm still paying 2,000 life points to activate Verte Anaconda, and you're still leaving a weak 500 attack position monster on the field in Verte Anaconda. So to me, that's really worth the payoff. You know, that will make making Dragoon so much harder and so more inconsistent that people most probably just wouldn't play it. So you don't need to ban cards. Stop making generic shit. That's why things like Baron and Savage Dragon are banned, because they were just so generic they got abused in every deck. And, you know, Konami just needs to stop doing that. So yeah, like, I honestly thought it'd be Moon that would get hit, if anything. So the fact they hit a Fiendsmith card already, I think, is wild. Apo, again, I get why Apo went. I understand why that went. It's taken a big hit off Snake Eyes, but not just Snake Eyes, quite a lot of decks. So I fully understand why Apo got hit, and I was expecting it. When it was printed in Rarity Collection 2, I said from day one, that's Apo on the next ban list. They did it to Dragoon, they did it to Baron, they did it to Savage Dragon. They reprinted the fuck out of it and then banned it. I was honestly expecting IP to be banned as well, but they didn't ban IP, which I guess is at least one good thing there, I assume. Beatrice needed to go. That should never have came back, in my opinion. You know, even like things like Chimera were taking advantage of it, and that's just wild in my eyes. And then the 4th card that got banned, off the top of my head now, I can't remember. What was the 4th card again? I can't remember. I should really have the list in front of me, but I don't. But yeah, so that's that. Cards that I honestly thought may have got rebanned was Protoss, with how Ritual Beast could take advantage of it and absolutely destroy decks with it. I thought that was very, very much a card that needed to go again. I honestly thought, like, everyone was saying Flamberge Dragon needed to be banned. Yeah, I can see why. Limiting Flamberge wouldn't have been enough, so I do see why that needed to go. And again, they just didn't. They just left it. They went, you know what, that's fine to leave. So, but yeah, I thought those 2 cards should have been on the bad list for sure. And Sanctify Dragon, in my eyes, that should have gone. That brings me into limiting Branded Fusion to 1. That I think that's the wrong call. I get that's how it is in the OCG. I get that is how it is in Master Duel, but they have Maxi at 3. So, you know, what we can't compare the lists. It's a different format with a different list. Branded Fusion to 1 has just made Branded a hell of a lot weaker to hand traps, and we are still in very much a very, very heavy hand trap format. If we were in more of a board breaker format, then limiting it, I would understand it, but in a very heavy hand trap format, you've just gone, I want to kill Branded, when Branded's not one of the top 3 decks. In my eyes, the top 3 decks are still Snake Eyes, it is still Yugioh, Yugioh Fiendsmith to be more specific, and Tenpai, and all 3 decks are still going to operate at the top 3 level. With this ban list, I feel the ban has done absolutely nothing to change the meta. All they've done is gone, oh, we're going to make you all slightly more inconsistent and a little bit more potent to hand traps. Yubel having Spirit Gate limited to 1 wasn't enough. I'm sorry, Spirit Yubel should have been limited to 1. Not Spirit Yubel, Phantom Yubel, that's the one, the fusion monster. That should have been limited to 1. The fact that you can shuffle back fusion material from hand, field, graveyard is just ridiculous. Is a ridiculous summon requirement, and then with such a broken effect of change a monster effect to like destroy Yubel from your deck, like it's fine to have that, but we can't have Mathmech Circular. I don't understand that at all. But yeah, that should have been at 1. The gates, I get it's a consistency hit. It takes away the additional normal summon, but you still run Beast. Beast still searches it. So it's like, yeah, fine, you've weakened it a tiny amount, but honestly, Yubel needed a much bigger hit, and it just didn't get it. Summoning to 1 for Tenpai, again, that was like when they put Circular to 1 for Mathmech. On the front basis, it's like, oh wow, that's a hit, and then you look at it, it's like, that's not a hit. It makes the consistency worse, but it is a card that is so searchable in that deck. You can get away with just running at 1. All you've done is gone, here, have 2 more spots for more board breakers and more hand traps. That's all Tenpai have done there. Again, Tenpai needed a much bigger hit. Trident Dragon, I would say banned, but honestly that wasn't the issue. People have been playing absolutely fine without Trident Dragon in more budget builds. I don't know what I would have hit with Tenpai because I don't know the deck well enough. I maybe would have banned Samurai Destroyer because it's an old card that takes away something from the deck that they do need but can still play without. But yeah, so as for the actual Tenpai monsters themselves, I think they're all fine. It's the generic extra deck and the amount of board breakers they play that's the issue. So yeah, I would have looked into hit and tank there. Skill Drain to 1 obviously it's a floodgate trap card. The rest are at 1 or banned, so yeah, saw that one coming. Like I said, Sanctify should have gone. That should have gone. The Snake Eye hits Ash and Popular. Done absolutely nothing to slow down that deck. That deck's still going to run at full speed. And you know, you can see it online, you can see it in local plays, at your locals maybe, or even online if you watch people's local vlogs. A good player with Snake Eyes, doesn't matter how many times you hand trap them, unless you hand trap them 4 times, and then you have the perfect starter yourself. Team Samurai did a really good funny skit on that where like 4 plays got stopped, and then his opponent normal summoned Ash itself and then had the call by for turn. So yeah, there's that. So like I said, Snake Eyes, banning Flamberge may have been the thing to kill the deck, but that's just it. Konami don't want to kill the deck. They want to try and make it more fair. They want to try and slow it down, but they're not going to want to kill their money maker. And like I said, like a great player will still play it, and an okay player, even with them at 3, we're getting stopped by hand traps. So, and then there's the difference in skill level. Like people saying, oh, the deck's so... No, I'm sorry, but no, you can give somebody that deck who is an okay player, is maybe really good with other decks, but with that deck, they just don't see the lines, they don't know it properly, they haven't taken their time to learn it properly, and it will stop them 100 times out of 100 times. I've proved that myself at locals. I played against 4 different people on Snake Eyes, and I've beat 3 out of the 4 of them. And that's not taking anything away from them. And don't get me wrong, in the best of like first to 100 wins, they'll most probably still take it. But the point I'm making is I'm an average player. I might be slightly better than average, but as a whole, I'm roughly an average player, especially at like the local level. So if I'm even able to stop them 40% of the time, you get what I'm trying to say. How else I would have tried to slow that deck down, I honestly don't know. Bonfire should have gone to 1. Should have. It's a rotor base card. Every other rotor base card in the game is at 1. So why Bonfire is okay to stay at 3, I think is a bit of a kick. Pot of Prosperity down to 1 is a weird one for definite, because of having the whole you can only inflict half damage for the rest of that turn, and you can't draw cards. Yeah, it adds some good restrictions. However, allowing yourself, like if you've got it in your opening hand, you got your 5 cards, you play that, you then look at 6 more cards. If you're running a 40 card deck and it's letting you with your starting hand look at 11 cards, it is quite a lot of advantage. Or it's just very expensive ash bait. So limiting that to 1, I get. Sort of, and I've said this card several times already, but Circular should have been back at 1. I'm sorry, but what is Mathmech doing? What is Cyverse as a whole doing? I get you've got the Alice in Wonderland deck coming soon, but they're all based around level 3s, link 3s and banishing. Circular is none of those things. So give me my boy back, let me play Mathmech again. But yeah, so I would have personally bought Circular back. I think that's well enough to come back. Another one I thought would have honestly came off the list was Heavy Metal Fire Electrum. At this point in the game, what are Pendulums doing? You have Pendulum Engine, sure, like Melodious and Super Heavy Samurai, which even that's died off quite a lot, but still sort of there in certain decks. They're not going to go into Heavy Metal Fire Electrum, because that's not what that engine's there to do. It's not there to do pendulum plays, it's there to put something out on the board. So pendulum decks where their strategy is based around pendulums are doing fuck all in the format. They're doing really nothing. I get Performer Mage Plush Fires back. I wasn't around for Pepe format, so I'm really intrigued to see what that can do. But you look at Pendulum Magician, just for argument's sake, I'd say that's one of the better pendulum based strategies in the game, especially with like the Zark support. You already have Beyond the Pendulum, you already have Exceed the Pendulum, which do not the same thing but similar enough, where adding in Heavy Metal Electrolyte is, in my opinion, good enough. I don't think that would have made a big impact on the meta. I don't see that doing much in ways of pushing anything into that like tier 1 strategy. It might have made Pendulums a little bit more rogue again, but yeah, that could have safely come off. A card that wasn't safe to come off was the Grass That's Greener. Cool. Get ready for your Lunar Light Tilament. 60 card pile. Triple thrusts in there to grab your Grass That's Greener and activate it, and then get to chain link 20 all over again. You know, that card's going to be toxic. I'm sorry. A lot of people say, "Oh no, no." I'm sorry. This better have the Fairy Tale Snow treatment, where it's literally off this ban list and then back on next ban list. But I think I've rabbited on about the ban list enough. So what I'm going to do now is take a little break and then come back and discuss the future of the channel and what's next. Okay guys, we're back. So what's next? Like I said, the Can We Pay for a Wedding using the Yugioh card series is done. The wedding is paid for. The wedding is in 24 days from day of filming, and hopefully I'll get this uploaded today. Today is Sunday, so 24 days time and I'm a married man. Cannot wait. But yeah, so that series is pretty much done. I want to get better at Yu-Gi-Oh! I really love this game. As much as there is criticism around the game, I absolutely really love the game. So I want to get better, and that means for me what I want to aim to do is top locals to begin with. And by top I don't mean come first. A lot of people count topping locals as getting top 4. And then from there it's you've top locals and then you win locals coming first. So I want to start topping locals. I have won locals a few times, I've topped quite a few times, but not recently. I don't think I've topped it all in the last 3-4 months, maybe longer. So I want to start topping locals consistently again, or as consistently as I can. I want to improve at this game. I want to get better. And one thing I've noticed is that I am trying to condense these videos normally down to around 20 to 25 minutes. But if you look at other local vlogs out there, they are all around 40 to 50 minute long. And I want to start including gameplay into the vlogs properly. So I don't know if that's going to be every game. I think that will be too much, even double speed. I just feel that would be too much for a viewer to try and take in. So what I might look to do is 2 games to begin with. Our locals is on average 4 to 5 rounds, depending on the week. So I feel giving a breakdown or after the game, like still in store, as long as I've got time between rounds to do that. Go over what I feel did well, what didn't, and give that a proper breakdown. And then show a couple of the games, whether that's 2, whether that's 1 full one, and then 2 games within that match. Like for example, if game 1 of match 3 was really good, but game 2 and 3 or game 2 wasn't, I'll just show you game 1, and then I'll show you the full match 2, because all of that was pretty decent, and not just from me but from my opponent as well. Like my most recent TikTok video was me getting absolutely clapped by my opponent's game, and I think it's actually one of my best TikToks in terms of views. It's like nearly at 3,000 views, which is amazing. Speaking of which, follow me over on TikTok, same name, Mystic Frost 86. And I want to try and grow this channel as much as I can, because I've got ideas of giveaways and whatnot I want to do, but I want to hit targets. So we are just over 100 subscribers. If we can get this channel to 500 subscribers, I will do a massive giveaway. So yeah, let's see if we can get that done. But that's it in terms of where we're going. I think the next series as such is going to be called Let's Top Locals, or learn tournament play. I don't know. Give me a name and a suggestion, like going pro. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of my thought process on what I want to do next. I want to get better. I want to consistently top locals, and then I want to go to a regional or national whenever they're next on, and get top 164. I know that's not a huge target, but that does mean that you are getting a positive record at a national level and that you are going into day 2. I think that as a average player who wants to improve, that would be one hell of a goal to hit. So that's what I want to do. But yeah, anything else to add to that? I don't think so. What I'm going to do now is just quickly have not a rant as such, but I just want to actually applaud Konami for how they've handled this ban list as well. This should have been in the last segment, but I forgot to add it there, so I'm just going to do it here. I think they handled the ban list really well. They communicated, before the last big event that you're good to play with these cards. The ban list has come in to, end of August, the back half of August, and yes, they did it on the last day, which a lot of people have real issue with. However, from a company standpoint, they have delivered on that promise. They said the back half of August. They didn't say it would be the first part of the back half of August. People will check socials every day to see if the ban list is up. People will check their website every day to see if the ban list is out. By doing this, they've generated so much free traction on their socials. From a business point of view, I think that's a really smart idea. Even as a player perspective, they said back end of August. Now, don't get me wrong, if it ticked over to today and it's the 1st of September and it was not out, different thing then. They haven't delivered on what they promised. They put it out UK time, 7 p.m. on the 31st of August. That is still within the time frame of what they promised. So people need to bear that in mind. It may not have been as quick as what you wanted it, but it's still within what they promised. As for the announcement that it will be done on the 31st on their Mastodon stream, they're trying to generate people to play both Mastodon and the TCG. So they've brought on the Shadow Duelist for the Mastodon. And then they've announced on there that the ban list will be 31st of August. To me, that's really smart, because if you love Yu-Gi-Oh, if you're following the game, you're following the Mastodon tournament, whether you play it or not, you're at least keeping tabs on it, so you're getting that information. If not, it's getting instantly leaked everywhere online, so you're getting that information. And then you might log in to watch the rest of that Mastodon tournament to see what other information is given. It's called cross promotion, and a lot of people don't seem to realise that. Konami is one company, whether it's the OCG, TCG, or Mastodon, or even Duel Links. It's all Konami. How they choose to put that information out where is down to them. And to me, that's a really good idea, because they got TCG players interested in the Mastodon stream. Anyone who plays Mastodon who saw that announcement would be like, oh, TCG's getting a new ban list. I want to see what that's like. Again, creating more traction, or possibly even convincing players to go and play the TCG. All of this stuff is called cross promotion, and people need to remember it and learn it before they go to social media and start slamming on a multi-million to billion-dollar company that they don't know what they're doing, when clearly they do. But yeah, so that's the end of that rant. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the deck profile of what I was going to play today, because it was a fun deck. It's Trap Tricks Amazement. I really love the deck. I think it's funny. And like I said, this week was going to be a bit of a palette cleanser, ready for the Going Pro series, or whatever we're calling it, to start next week. So I'm going to show you the deck list, because yeah, I'm not playing it. And then we will go from there. But I'll catch you guys in the deck profile. Okay guys, so here we are with the deck list part of the portion. Now I will most probably bring this deck to locals at some point, because what I'm thinking about doing is, like I said, doing the going pro, whatever we're calling this series, but then the last locals of each month taking a more chilled and relaxed deck. So this will most probably be one of those decks I will bring eventually, but this is what I plan to play today. So to start off with, we have our 3 copies of Mantis. So those of you who don't know the Trap Tricks cards by now, all have the same effect, that they are unaffected by the effects of whole normal trap, so you can't trap hold it or whatever. And then when this card is normal summoned, you can add a Trap Tricks monster from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, quick effect, you can target one set spell or trap card that you control and return it to the hand, then set a card. So it's a nice little dodge if your opponent goes to blow up one of your set back row cards. You can just go, no, mounts it, and then literally reset the sound card. We also play 3 copies of Trap Tricks Morelio, and this one, again, when this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 whole normal trap from your deck to your hand. And then if this card is special summoned, you can target a spell trap your opponent controls and destroy the target. So again, this one bounces yours, this one destroys your opponent's. We then run 2 copies of Dionea. And when this card is normal summoned, you can target 1 Trap Tricks monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense. So that would automatically put you into a Link 2, into a rank 4 XEs. So quite a few good little plays there with this card. And then if it's special summoned, you can target a trap card, a normal whole trap card in your graveyard and set it to the field, but then banish it during the next end phase. So, and then we are running 1 Arachnocampia. And this one has a quick effect that if you control a Trap Tricks monster, you can special summon it from hand, which is always nice. And then if this is on the field as well, the first time each set card in our spell and trap zones would be destroyed by a card effect, they are not. So if I've got this on the field and my opponent activates Harpy's Feather Duster, it will not destroy my set spell and traps. However, this is more there to proc Sarah's effects and to then extend rather than stay on the field. This is all the Trap Tricks names we're running. I'm fully aware it's not a lot. We are only running 9, but in this particular build, 9 is all you need. Next up with the Trap Tricks traps, we have the Holotea, which is normally one of the main ones that we're setting, because it is one of our best normal whole trap cards. Because you can activate the turn it's set by discarding another trap. And then when it's activated, you special summon it in defense as a normal monster, Plant Earth level 4 with 400 attack and 2400 defense. And then if it's in your graveyard, you can banish it to target a Trap Tricks monster in your grave and special summon it. You can only use each effect once per turn. Okay, so what you could do here is you activate it, you discard another copy of it, you then overlay, you then link the monster, and then you can banish the copy to spec back the monster, which I personally think is really good. We then have 2 copies of Gravedigger's Trap Hole, which is when your opponent activates a monster or effect in their hand or graveyard, or even their banish monster effect is activated. Negate the effect, and if you do, inflict 2,000 points of damage to your opponent. This, I feel Trap Tricks might get a bit of a resurgence when the new Malice archetype comes out, if that takes off, just because of Gravedigger's Trap Hole and how easily they can get to it. So let me fix the light in there a little bit. There we go. Then we have 2 copies of Floodgate Trap Hole, which is when your opponent special summons a monster or monsters. You change them to face down defense position, and monsters cannot change to face down defense by this effect, cannot change their battle positions, so they cannot flip them back up. We then run one copy of Terrifying Trap Hole Nightmare. I was initially running the Trap Tricks Trap Hole Nightmare, but I decided to swap it out for this one. And that's if your opponent special summon a monsters this turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls with 2,000 more attack and destroy it. Then if you have a whole normal trap in your grave, which hopefully you would at this point, you can banish one monster from your opponent's grave. And just that additional banish effect, I think, is amazing. We then have one Void Trap Hole, which is when your opponent special summons a monster with 2,000 or more attack, you negate the effect of one of those monsters with 2,000 or more attack and then destroy it. Which is brilliant, because if a monster has a battle destruction protection effect, it doesn't matter, because Void Trap Hole will negate the effects first and then destroy. It's not destroy, it's not negate and destroy, it's negate then destroy. So their protection would not protect them. And then we have Time Space Trap Hole. Arguably my least favourite, but it does the job. So when your opponent special summons a monster from the hand or extra deck, you can shuffle that monster into the deck, and you lose 1,000 life points for each returned monster. So if a Synchro Summon, Fusion Summon, XE Summon, Link Summon, any form of special summon, we can activate it, pay 1,000 life points, and put them back in the deck. And that's it for the Trap Tricks trap cards, the whole trap cards. Next up is the Little Amazement package, and it's mainly these cards I wanted to run, but Pure Amazement is rubbish and it needs another trap based strategy, and I hate Labyrinth, so I've gone with Trap Tricks. So first of all, we have 3 amazing time tickets. Now I want to play a lot more Amazement cards, but like I said, they're not good. So maybe one day I might do a full Amazement deck. But these have 2 effects, both of which you have to pay 800 life points for. And then it depends on whose turn it is. If it's your turn, as the turn player, you can add 1 Amazement card from your deck to your hand. And that's the main thing you want to use. And then if it's your opponent's turn, you can set an attraction trap directly from your deck. And it can be activated this turn, but you can only use 1 time ticket per turn. Now the idea is that you'd use it in your standby phase, so you're not proccing any form of effect other than Ash maybe. But yeah, this is arguably top 5 favourite monster of all time. We are only running 2 of him. And this is Amazement Administrator, and then I can't pronounce their name. Alikino, I don't know. It's a psychic monster, 7 stars. So, you know, Kishdoer, maybe. And it's once per turn, you can banish any number of attraction traps from your grave, then target that many cards your opponent controls and destroy them. So fantastic removal. You can only use all the effects once per turn, and that's when a trap card's activated. You can special summon this monster from your hand. Perfect for a trap-based strategy. And it also might slow your opponent down from using things like Imperm, because they don't want to give you a big free body. Because also he has another effect, which is while he's face up on the field, if your opponent normal summons or special summons a monster, you can equip an Amazement trap to that monster directly from your deck. And we only run 1 Amazement trap, which is the Amaze Attraction Horror House, but we do run it at 3. And again, this has 2 different effects. So you can target an Amazement monster you control, or face-up monster your opponent controls and equip it to this card. If this is equipped to one of our own Amazement monsters, it works as an imperm. So I can target 1 effect monster my opponent controls, negate the effects until the end of the turn. It doesn't do the column, just the monster. But if it's equipped to the monster, which we can do quick effect when it's normal summoned or special summoned, this will instantly equip to it, and then I can activate it, which is change the equip monster to face down defense position. Perfect. So use some of the monster while I've got this out. I equip this. I then instantly book a moon it, which then puts this in the grave. And then I've got this effect where I can then banish this to pop a card you control, which to me is just lovely. I absolutely love the Amazement cards. I think their artwork is amazing. It's a fun fair, and yeah, I think it's brilliant. Then into the non-Amazement, non-Trap Tricks cards, we have triple Infinite Impermanence. It's not the only hand trap we play, but the other one is under the unspecified monster part. And then triple Pot of Prosperity. This was going to be the last week where I could play triple Pot of Prosperity because it is now limited to 1 as of Tuesday. I believe the ban list goes live on the 3rd, which is Tuesday. So yeah, funny enough, one of the other fellow MPEC guys is going to lend me a QCR Pot of Prosperity just for that one. So I've got a nice bringed out one. And then our non-archetype monsters, we have triple Power No Exceed. And then for the last 3 cards, we have Dimension Shifter. Now, yes, we want our Trap Tricks monsters in grave. However, I'm willing to sacrifice 1 Trap Tricks monster to shut down my opponent, because the idea here is we shifter, we summon, we get the effects off, we link the first one off into Sarah, so that one's then banished. All the others should be sitting under Exceed monsters as material, so that's the idea there. But that is the main deck. It is a clean 40 cards. I'll show you the extra and the side. So the extra deck is, of course, 3 Trap Trick servers. Eventually I do want to upgrade these to secrets. I have got the ultras, better than the commons, but you know, I do want to get those secrets. Then we have 1 IP Masquerader, 1 SP Little Knight, and 1 Silhouette Rabbit. Now, if you don't have SP, that's absolutely fine, because honestly, it nearly didn't make the cut. IP is in here for a different reason, but if you don't have SP, play Nightmare Phoenix instead. Because we do run the Nightmare Unicorn. Silhouette Rabbit was the Nightmare Phoenix, and then this went in because of Holotea. So, yeah. And then we have the 1 Trap Tricks Octopus, which can make all your Trap Tricks monsters gain 1,000. And then so it's got another effect, which is once per turn you can target face-up cards your opponent controls to the number of insect and plant monsters you control and negate their effects. And then banish 1 normal trap from your graveyard, and if you do, destroy one of those targets, which is beautiful, because it doesn't have to be a normal trap hole, just a normal trap, which the amazements, the imperms all count at that stage. Then we have our 1 Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avamax, and this is what IP is in the deck for, to make the Crusadia Avamax a pure tower. Then we have our 1 Trap Tricks Pingula, sure, however you pronounce it. And if this card has material, it's unaffected by trap effects and effects of other monsters of the same type as its material. And then once per turn, you can detach a material from this card, add 1 Trap Tricks monster from deck to hand, and if a monsters owned by your opponent sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect, you can attach one of those monsters to this material. So if a card is banished because it's gone to the grave and then it's banished due to shifter, you can then equip it to this card. And then because that monster is then equipped to this card, you can then make this monster immune to the same archetypal, you know, for example, say Snake Eyes, for argument's sake, gets banished, we can then equip it, and then it is immune to other pyro monster effects, which I think is really good. We run 2 Trap Tricks with Felicia, This is the only XYZs we've run it to. And it has this very simple effect of unaffected by trap effects where it has material. Trap tricks monsters I control, except for the Rafflesia, cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. So it protects them. Your opponent cannot target trap tricks monsters, apart from Rafflesia, with card effects. So that's even better. But once per turn, quick effect, you can detach one material from this card and send one whole normal trap that meets the activation condition from the deck to the graveyard, and then this effect becomes that trap card. So for argument's sake, let's say your monster summons a monster, you can banish Floodgate Trapple or send it to the graveyard even, and then it will Floodgate Trapple your opponent's monster. We then have one Trap Tricks Animal Risk, which is you can detach 2 materials from this card and special summon one level 4 insect or plant from your graveyard. Also unaffected by traps, where you have material. And then if your opponent's monsters leave the field because of a card effect and is now in the graveyard or banished, you can detach one material from this card, target one of them, and special summon it to your field. So you can special summon one of their level 4s to then go straight into this with, and then again it already has that done. We then have our 1 copy of Babushka, which is you put it in defense mode, or your opponent's monsters have to go in defense, and they can't activate their effects. And then 1 Time Thief Redoer. So once per turn during the standby phase, you can attach the top card of your opponent's deck to this card as material. Quick effect, you can detach up to 3 different types of materials on this card, then apply the following depending on what was detached. If you detach a monster, you banish this card to the end phase. If it's a spell card, you detach, you draw a card. And if it's a trap card, you can place 1 face-up card your opponent controls to the top of their deck, but you can only use the effect once per turn. So pretty decent effects. And that is the X deck. Now, I was tied between this or Zeus, and I went with Babushka because I wanted to try and make it as toxic as possible, to put it simply. In the side we have our 3 copies of Ash. So these are interchangeable with things like pots, the dimension shifters. So depending on what you need for the matchup, we have our 3 copies of Nibiru and our 3 copies of Evenly Matched. These are to be sided in if we're going second. So we take 6 cards out, what we don't care about, and we put these 6 cards in if we're going second. If we're going first, Nib is go first or second. Evenly is go second. This is a go first card, which is our dimensional barrier. Let's move that so we don't have such a back there. So second, first, doesn't matter. And then also go second card, triple Regeki. We want that Regeki because we cannot rely on traps to do the destruction if we are going second. So we have the Regeki for that instead. And that is the deck list. I really hope you enjoyed. Now, this is quite a long video, so I do apologise about that. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment section, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the ban list and what you think they did right and what they think they did wrong. But until next time, I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.